shuffling the cards, and then we're going to lay out the spread for this month, and we'll go into the spread for this month, okay? First message that I have for you here is final communication. I feel like, final communication might have like a negative connotation to it, but I actually feel like in your case, it actually might be good. So I feel like you're getting some definitive document, some definitive answer, something written on paper that you might have been waiting on for a really long time. I feel like it's coming in and it's showing you the way forward. And I feel like travel opening up for you as a result of it. So some of you might have been waiting on communication, for example, from another person, from an authority figure, from an official body. And you might have already planned out, a few vacation spots, and you were waiting on that, so you couldn't really move forward with your travel plans. But I feel this is the month in which there is breakthrough, there's that communication, there's that, final say whether or not things are going to get resolved in a specific time frame, and even like a time frame, a definite time frame that's coming into the picture for you so that you can move forward with travel arrangements, okay? So that's coming through. The second message that I see here is they say bittersweet communication. So I feel like this is the month in which you are going to be in high demand. You're communicating with a lot of different people. And the bittersweet communication is sort of like this. It could be, um, getting really positive, like words about a specific thing, so then you can launch a project. And as a result of launching the project, you're no longer working on it. It's like you have to kind of hand it over to whoever is in charge of launching it. So in a way, that can be bittersweet. Also, you might be finding out, your children or somebody in your family getting accepted to a school, getting accepted to a program. So in a way, you're happy for them. But on the flip side of that, they might need to, relocate and be out of your vicinity. So in that way, it's like bittersweet communication. The bittersweet communication also pertains to, I feel, heavily with children. So you might be, if you have children with an ex, for example, I feel like there might be some news about the children's well-being, about the children's health, for example, that you're still contending with, okay? So I feel that element coming into the picture. And I also feel the other message that came through here is I also feel like this. It's kind of like if you were at an impasse with another person, okay, for over whatever the problem is, okay, I feel that you're getting that final communication, so then you can, drop it and just move on. So either way, this is a really strong breakthrough month for many of you who have been dealing with contentious issues since especially last night. You're getting something a lot more definite, and I know you appreciate definitive answers. And so I feel like relatively, things are going to be quite good this month because of that, because of the finality of it, okay? I'm also feeling some of you, there's a lot of communication here when it comes to children, family overall. And I also feel that a lot of the times, family, they know how to trigger us, family members. They know how to get under our skin. They know how to push our buttons. And there seems to me to be a lot of hot trigger topics within your family environment. And because you're dealing with that, I do sense that it's really important for you to kind of, learn when to turn your back, learn when to let things slide. Because I feel like letting things slide is not really your forte. You usually, if something is wrong, you try your hardest to fix it. If something is awry, you feel like, okay, you have to get your hands dirty and to get in there and, fix the problem. And so the thing is, you're not alone in all of this, okay? Hold the other people accountable. Make them do it with you. Make it a concerted effort between both parties so that the other person has as much has to exert the same amount of energy to fix something, rather than you going about it, doing it your own way and feeling resentful, okay? So I feel like, changing the ways in which we are pushing forward with certain things, and learning to delegate, learning to try to relinquish control a little bit, and holding more so holding the other person accountable too. So making sure that they're in on it with you as well, so that you're not the only one struggling and suffering through it. That's going to be really important. Okay. um Last message that I have here, I do see a lot of travels. I feel like, they're saying pretty places, pretty things. Okay, so I feel like the travel might be, you might be going to a place with a lot of artifacts. So for like, a trip to a museum, they say like a lot of like old things. So pretty things, old things. So you might be going to a place that you visited, you've lived in the past, for example, or you might be dealing with, I'm seeing like a lot of little artifacts, a lot of nice little trinkets, shiny objects that have a lot of sentimental value, but also have accumulated, like they're old antique items that have accumulated in with in wealth. Okay, so I feel like if you're going to be coming into contact with that. And I do see a lot of museums. I do see a lot of trips near the borders, near the edges. So like it could be a coastal cruise. It could be a cruise to a nearby island. I don't feel like overseas voyages, although for some of you it might be overseas, but I feel like it's right by the borders of a country, the borders of a huge landmass. Okay, so it might be a cruise around the borders. Okay. So let's go into your reading here, Sagittarius. The first card that is coming out here, this is a really good card. We have here the Nine of Pentacles, and this is a card about self-employment. This is a card about making your money work for you. So working smart rather than working hard, okay? And a lot of you are in situations where you might be working as a freelance artist, a freelancer, or just a consultant. You own your own business, and assets and things like that are starting to grow for you. And a lot of you might be retired, okay? So you're not really physically touching work, touching money, but I feel that you have quite a few things saved up. It could be like money coming through from institutions or from pension or from retirement packages that are allowing you to sustain your lifestyle. And I do sense that there is a sense of boredom as well associated with this card. It's a positive card overall, but it feels almost as if something is missing, okay? So while you could, stay where you are, things are stable financially, things are really good. I feel that, as the nature of a Sagittarius person, you like to keep busy. You like to be productive as well. You like to see new things. You like to explore new lands, new landscape, new territory. So I feel like there is this sense of like, yes, you have the stability, but there is that sense of lacking something, wanting to explore new areas, wanting to break out a little bit and wanting to try something new. So I do feel a lot of you are either self-employed, or if you are employed, or even not employed, there's money coming through, there's a lot of stability, and also there's a lot of leisure time as well, which leads me to believe some of you are retired and thinking about, the kids are out of the nest, they're starting their own families, and they're so caught up with their own families that they might not have enough time to come visit. The home environment, if you're sharing the home with another person, I feel like you would rather spend time on your own because there's friction. There's something here that indicates to me if you're sharing your space, if you have a spouse, for example, the spouse might be too much of a homebody and they don't really want to go out and explore. They don't really want to try new things. So they're happy with the status quo. They're happy. And you feel like you're feeling a little bit claustrophobic within your household environment. So you want a change of scenery. You want to try something different. You want to go out and explore. So I feel like some of you might be in a relationship, like, either living with or just dating somebody that is too much of a homebody and they don't really want to, they don't have that same sense of thirst for adventure that you do, okay? And they might be a little bit of a stickler for the same rules, a little bit more, well, a lot less adventurous than you are. And so you're trying to also think about, taking trips possibly on your own, okay? Because I feel like this person is holding you back quite a bit, and they're not going to want to explore. So you're going to have to create the opportunities for yourself if you are inclined, like if you're, retired, or if you have a lot of disposable income and you want to just, break out a little bit, okay? I feel that financially things are really good for you guys this month, Sagittarius. I was worried about that because, the last year especially seems a little bit brutal. But I feel like, since the beginning of this year, you have gotten things in order. You have started to do things because I feel like a lot of you have gone through this major growth spurt where you're thinking a lot more about your long-term future, 3, 5, 10 years from now. What do I want my life to look like? And I feel like you have taken a lot of steps, like slowly but surely, you have taken a lot of steps in order to secure a better financial future for yourself. So I feel like this is the month in which you start to feel okay. You start to feel financially stable. There's disposable income coming through to allow you to, take those trips to do like retreats, even to explore your spirituality. And in the daily bustle and grind of having to sustain ourselves, having to make ends meet, I feel like you have neglected that sense of spiritual and I want to say like that spiritual development. And I feel like this is the month in which that's going to come to the forefront, and that's something that you're taking the time to do. So I feel like taking trips, doing something that innately will expand your horizon, will allow you to network and come into contact with different people. You're going to be able to have that sense of inner peace, have that sense of expansion, and also have that sense of like spiritual enlightenment and spiritual realignment. Okay, so I feel like overall it's going to be a good month. Some of you are still dealing here with people who are quite manipulative. Okay, so we have here the King of Cups, and for this spread, I'm not reading them as specific people. Okay, so I feel like some of you are still dealing with this energy. This, I feel, is somebody that you might have children with. Okay, so we have here possibly a water sign. So this is a Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. There's going to be communication coming through from this person. And I feel like the news, the information is coming through in regards to children, in regards to like where they are living, whether or not the children are safe and secure under this person's care. Okay, it could be a male or female. But I feel like there's going to be, it seems to me like you close the door on this person, right? And it feels to me like they're knocking at the door and they're trying to wedge their foot in. And then once they have their foot in, they push boundaries with you and they try to, wedge their knee in. And then once they get that in, they try to wedge like the rest of their body in. So it's like somebody that has no sense of personal boundaries. So you need to be very careful. And a lot of the times you are a little bit lax. You are very carefree when you're dealing with people. So they're telling you that in order to deal with this energy, and this is not somebody that's new and unexpected. Like, how this person has behaved in the past, right? You know that the person is very susceptible to, like, they might even be, someone who is who's very deceitful. So let me just say that. And I get the word like pathological liar, somebody who's very, very skilled at misleading the public, somebody who might not I want to say like they're just not very honorable. So the point here is this: you need to really be firm, Sagittarius. Okay, and you're such big softies inside. Like no matter what, I feel like in public you might have a tough facade, but I do feel that deep down, emotionally, you guys are really soft, and the softness is not coming from weakness. It's the fact that you believe people can change. You believe in rehabilitation, and you believe, especially if you have an emotional connection with someone, you don't want them to suffer. You don't want them to like be cast out in the cold. So I feel like the card is coming through to advise you, that you need to learn from the past. You need to know better so that you can manage this person better. So here's what I'm feeling. I feel like for some of you, this might be an ex-partner that you have children with. You might have been married to them. And for some of you, this might be somebody in your work environment, who pushes boundaries. So I feel like this. They have trouble with communication, okay? And this is why I feel like it might not be a water sign. they have trouble being direct. They have trouble being truthful. And I feel like every time you talk to them, you ask them a question, they really like they gauge your they really gauge your tone, they really gauge your demeanor, your nonverbal communication. So they take a really long time to um to respond. And when somebody takes a really long time to respond, automatically in your mind, you're like, oh, they're lying. So they might not be lying. They're just very, very conflict avoidant. So they really want to gauge like what you're trying to get them to say. They overthink it. They overanalyze. You're just asking for the truth. And I feel like they're looking at you as if, well, does he or she want me to tell them this, or do they want me to tell them that? So yes, they have problems with being truthful, but at the same time, when you approach this person, do it in a very soft, light-hearted manner so that they're not anxious. When they get anxious, they jumble the truth and they might not give you the answer in a truthful manner. So I feel like you're dealing with somebody that is has trouble with honesty, but there is this deep-rooted sense of anxiety within them that when they hear loud noises, they get really scared. When when somebody's really upset with them and charges at them, they might behave like they might react like like a trapped deer or a trapped rabbit or a trapped dog. Like they might bark out, they might bite back. And I feel like this is somebody that has some type of inner psychosis where they have really high anxiety. Okay, when you're dealing with this, and especially if this is a good, honest, loving person, and they have anxiety, you have to find ways to help them. To approach them in a way where it doesn't create. It doesn't trigger those anxious feelings within them. Okay, so that's what I'm feeling overall. So when it comes to communication, okay, communication is something we all need to work at, and I'm not talking about you specifically. I mean, like as a human race, okay. And what I feel with this card is that this is a card about an interrogator. This is a card about somebody that already knows the whole story, but she wants to hear the whole story from the other person's point of view. And so she might frame a question a specific way in order to get the other person to reveal things that she already knows. So it's kind of like a person that is accusatory. It could be a person that is a little bit too I just feel entrapment with this card, okay? And so one of the ways in which we have to, learn to communicate is to be very, very direct with our questions, okay? To not assume anything. You might already have a story in your head how things happen, and you're trying to ask a person, like, how things happen, and you're asking leading questions. Rather than asking leading questions, it's important to let them just talk, let them, tell their story. Their story might not be very linear. It might be annoying having to hear them, go off topic, go off on tangents. Their story is going to meander, and it's going to take, rather one than like half an hour to tell a very simple story. They might take like 3 hours. But I feel like patience is something that is really necessary for you this month, and as it pertains to like communicating with another person. If you want to get at the truth, or if you want them to just, give them that space to just talk in a very in a way where they don't feel judged, where they don't feel like you're cornering them. I feel like that's going to be really important. Okay, whoever it is in your life, I feel that taking a little bit less of this, but more of like just letting the other person talk, letting them take their time, and don't rush them, because I feel like rushing them might trigger those anxious feelings within them, and then they might feel already that, oh, he or she does not trust me. So that's very important. Okay. I feel for some of you, we have some major breakthroughs here when it comes to health. And this is physical health as well as mental health, okay? So if you're dealing with anxiety, if you have somebody in your life dealing with anxiety, dealing with, bouts of depression, like I'm seeing like a very up and down emotional state, either with you or with another person, there's going to be some type of therapeutic breakthrough. And I feel like it might come through with a therapist. It might come through with, like talk therapy, even, where you allow somebody to just be, and as a result of allowing them to just exist, to just be themselves, I feel like there's going to be a lot of healing and a lot of breakthrough in your interpersonal relationships. So I feel like you're taking I feel like a big step back. You're taking a big step back, looking at the big picture. You're very big picture oriented. And I feel like a lot of the times too, you live more in the physical world where you deal with things that are tangible, emotions and feelings and mental health and psychosis that people are dealing with. Those things, it's hard for you to understand, but I also feel like you don't really, I want to say, like, not that it's hard to understand, but it's just like you feel that, okay, people should not be victims to their circumstances. They should, pick themselves up by their own bootstraps and just move on. Just like, don't let things bog you down. Just move on. And I feel like you're a very strong sign, so it's really easy for you to do that. Whereas other people might not have the skills, might not have that sense of, big picture. I guess, like, they might not see the big picture, and it's really hard for them to, take initiative. It's really hard for them to, I guess, get themselves out of their own, dire predicament. Okay, so I feel that being a little bit more, taking a step back, giving people that room to really come to conclusions on their own, that's going to be very important. Okay, I mean, you can go ahead and tell them, you should do this, you should do that, and here's how you're going to be able to save your life and, have a better life. But emotionally, they're not where you need them to be to make these changes. Okay, so I feel like you might be dealing with some people that are like this, and I feel like heavily the energy is veering towards somebody that you are either have been romantically involved with, like an ex, or somebody that you've counseled over the years, somebody that you've dealt with for quite some time, and you keep seeing them make bad decisions, and they make emotionally irrational decisions. So I feel like that might have been frustrating, and you try to help, you try to tell them, you should do this, you should do that, and they need to arrive at these conclusions on their own. And I feel like they're going to do that. They're going to arrive at the conclusions on their own. They're going to start to move forward and make better decisions for themselves. And they're also going to be a lot more independent moving forward. So I feel like that was the main problem. Maybe they were emotionally tied to some people or some things in their past where they felt like they didn't feel that empowered. They didn't feel empowered enough to be able to move on, but they're going to be able to do that. Okay, so I feel like all your support, all the things that you mentioned in the past, they know that you're right. So it's not like, they're denying it or rejecting it. It's just mentally, spiritually, they weren't ready. And I feel like this is the month in which they're going to be ready. And I honestly feel for some of you, breakthrough in therapies, breakthrough in health situations, okay, for the better, things improving for the better. I get this message here that I feel a lot of you might have like overexerted yourself. So I feel like, injuries as it relates to overexertion, not stretching before you exercise, just like wearing yourself to the ground. Okay, like physically, I feel like there might have been some situation where you did something that you knew you weren't supposed to, and so you have to go to the doctor and things like that to take care of some pre-existing problem that that has been inflamed or that flared up. And I feel like you're going to get some healing from that. But that basically means listening to your doctor, listening to whoever is giving you counsel. You should do this, you should do that, and then you're going to start healing. Okay, so I feel like a lot of good, positive healing energies coming through for you individually and coming through for you when it comes to empathizing with another person. And, whatever you did in the past to lead them to where they're supposed to go, I feel like they're going to be able to see the light, okay? So we have some really strong things coming in. That's going to provide a lot of validation for you that you're on the right track, that you did the right thing by helping these people. So aside from that, the last message that I'm getting here, here is the thing, and this is going to apply to just a few people, okay? We have here the family card. And if you have estranged relationships from family members, and this can be your own parents, this can be your own children, whatever the situation might be, I feel like somebody has turned their back, okay? Somebody has just like, you know, mom, like if you have children, they're like, Mom, Dad, I can't do this anymore. It's you're too difficult, or you know, whatever the situation might be, where I feel like the other person turned their back, or you turned your back on the other person, and I feel like, and so I feel like on the one hand, you're gonna pretend like, oh, it's okay, you know, I don't need them, I don't need that family situation, but I feel that deep down you still crave it, okay? So my point here is, if you have those estranged relationships, okay, and if the relationships have caused a lot of flare-ups, if like two people just can't get along and whenever they meet they bicker like children, if that sounds familiar, if that's the case that you're dealing with here, then you know, don't get involved. Don't get involved in it, because I feel like a lot of conflicts might flare up when it comes to family overall, like sensitivities, people stepping on people's toes. So that might be a sore spot for this month, but I feel like the rest of it, there's a lot of healing that's going to be coming through. Okay, so Sagittarius, I'm going to leave you with that, and I'm going to go into your love reading and see what's in store for you guys. I feel like you're going to get communication from an ex. This is like a long ago ex, okay? Somebody that you have already gotten out of your life. This is somebody that you already know better about. So I feel like there's going to be communication coming through from an ex, and especially if it's somebody that you've had children with. I feel like that they're going to be coming back in, and they're saying, you know, this is it's a test of your resolve. You don't need, a lot of the time, Sagittarius, when somebody writes to you, you feel like no matter how you feel about them, you feel the need to respond. And you don't need to respond to anybody. You don't really owe anybody anything. So, you know, if they're reaching out and you feel bad, don't feel bad. They're out of your life for a reason, okay? So giving them the silent treatment rather than, just don't engage in it, okay? Don't re-engage and, you know, get yourself stuck emotionally in the past, okay? I also feel there's a lot of, I feel like there might be a lot of suitors. Those of you who are dating, there's a lot of opportunities for, I would say, opportunities for flings and short-term relationships. I do sense that. A lot of opportunities. So I feel like you might be neck deep in suitors, but they're not like, you know, looking for stable relationships by all means. I feel like it's just going to be, you know, like a one-night stand, like a short fling, somebody to just go have a good time with, rather than somebody looking for a relationship, okay? So that's for those who are out and dating. Let me see what else is coming in for you. So we have here the Page of Swords, and the Page of Swords is, it deals with a communication. So this is a messenger. And this is communication where you look at it and you're just like, what do I do with this? What do they expect from me? And you're contemplating whether or not to even write back, whether or not it's even worth your time, okay? So this is not like lighthearted, you know, love-filled, powerful, moving communication. This is just kind of like blasé. It's just something that you're just like, oh, I don't know what to do with this information. So I feel like a lot of you are getting communication here from somebody that you have already moved on from with the Death card. So this is pretty much the end of the line. You've already moved on from it, and I feel that there's communication coming back in from that person you've already let go of, okay? And what we have here is the Hermit. The Hermit is basically spiritual guidance. Okay, this is a card greatly about looking very closely at the situation. So I feel like if the communication is coming through and you've already moved away from that person, then they're telling you pretty much, there are ulterior motives involved, okay? And the ulterior motives might not be this person wanting you back and they're, trying to weasel their way in. I don't feel it's that. I feel like there are deeper ulterior motives. Maybe, they want to, um, maybe they want you back for other reasons rather than, love, okay? So be very, very careful and don't get sucked into that. I feel like a lot of you are having massive, success in your career overall. And I also feel as well, a lot of you are in a space right now where you are single. So moving into this month, I feel like you've left a relationship that might have been burdensome, where two people did not see eye to eye, where two people try to work at a relationship, but, against all odds, I feel like the odds were against you. And there wasn't a lot of compatibility to begin with. So I feel like you've had to leave it behind for whatever reason. They're saying like, I see like for some of you interracial relationships. And the nature of interracial relationships, this is not for all of you, but I feel like there's definitely lack of compatibility. But I also feel like there might have been family interference, okay? So social interference, family interference in that relationship. Or either culturally, you both are so different that it was really hard for you to get together. So religiously, if religiously you were different, it's hard for your family to accept. It's also hard for you to figure out, what do we raise, how do we raise the children together? And so I feel like there might have been a lot of interracial relationships. There might have been cultural differences as well, where it made the relationship difficult to maintain, okay? And we have here the Tower. The Tower basically indicates some type of a structural breakdown, okay? Something that was built on false promises, something that was very, very problematic. It might have been swept under the rug for quite some time, and now it's coming to light. I feel like if you're getting communication from an ex that you've already left behind, you're going to hear about them kind of like down on their luck, feeling cast out, feeling, they might have lost a job, they might have lost something quite significant, and so their foundation is corroding. And I feel like they're reaching out mainly because at the heart of it, they need some type of financial assistance, they need help, they need something from you, okay? And so I feel that you want to be very, very careful, okay? Read between the lines and honestly think about, don't act. Have a strategy, okay? Think about, how realistically, how can I help them? If I help them, is it going to create dependencies? Or can I help them for a specific period of time to help them get back on their feet and then they'll be okay? Will they be okay? So I feel like you really need to approach this in a more logical manner to really think about what you're hoping to achieve, what the timeline is going to be, and whether or not the person is worth the investment. If they are somebody that, it has a lot of, have always had trouble taking care of themselves, I feel like it can create dependencies, okay? So be careful, Sagittarius. I'm sensing some of you. I'm sensing some of you might be dealing with somebody that that has some type of they either have some type of very severe phobia, or they are very secretive and they have like they're very antisocial. So they have social phobias, they have anxiety, or they're incredibly antisocial, okay? So like somebody possibly suffering from PTSD, somebody possibly suffering from just I'm feeling like depression. Okay, so if you're dealing with that situation, if you're dealing with that situation, I'm feeling that you are going to come into, some type of, I mentioned earlier, therapy breakthrough. If you're involved with this person and you're just like, wow, why are you like this? Why are you so anxious? I do sense that you want to re-examine the relationship, okay? Because a lot of the times, we might have the best intentions. And honestly, people who are dealing with this, they might be perfectly fine, great, wonderful, amazing people. But if their mental health is neglected, or if their mental health is so severe that it makes them into a different person, they're not healthy enough for you to be in a relationship with them. They're not healthy enough to be in a relationship with another person. So they have to come to the point of self-awareness where they realize that emotionally, mentally, I'm not healthy. I cannot be in a relationship. And I feel like this might be the month where these things are coming to light for you, where you might have like overlooked all of these, warning signs, all of these red flags. And like I said, the person might be, perfectly good people, but they're not healthy on their own. So I feel like you're taking a step back. I feel that you're taking a step back and you're practicing loving detachment so that you don't get yourself bogged down by this, okay? By this energy. And you're not doing it in the spirit of selfishness, but you're doing it in a way where you feel like this is not going to be healthy for the both of us. This person needs something else that I'm not able to offer, okay? So good for you, Sagittarius. I feel like a lot of you are going to be doing that. So here is what I'm feeling. This is your energy. So this is a fire sign, Sagittarius, Aries, Leo, but this I feel is your energy. In the past, like I mentioned in the previous month's reading, I really admire you because when things need to get done, you go charge in right ahead. You roll up your sleeves, you fix things, you get things done. You don't mind getting your hands dirty. When you see somebody that needs help, you jump right in, you don't ask questions, and you don't even care who that person is. Okay, so having this energy is very admirable, it's very honorable. But I feel like you're losing pieces of yourselves when you keep devoting your energy to other people. And I feel like energy that is spent is wasted, is lost. And you start to, lose that sense of self, okay? And so what's coming through here is they want you to be a little bit more methodical about where you are devoting your energy, whether or not something is a lost cause. If you're dealing with somebody with very severe anxiety, if you're dealing with somebody with very severe, um, and mental health issues, okay, whether or not it's a lost cause, whether or not you have the right skills and the right expertise to help them, whether or not it's ethical for you as a relationship partner to do therapy with them. It's not ethical because of the conflict of interest issues, okay? So I feel like there are moments where we have to really detach ourselves and look at a situation not through the lens of, what can I do? How can I help? But more through the lens of how can I, help you through other channels, through other means. So how can I not get involved but still help you? So I feel like taking a bit of a step back is going to be important for you. I'm sensing that some of you are involved here with an air sign. So an air sign is an Aquarius, a Gemini, or a Libra. This is their sun, their moon, or their rising. And I feel like the emotional connection is very strong, okay? And I feel like the other person's really liking you. The other person has a lot of admiration, a lot of love for you. And I feel that this is something that you know to be true. Like you know that they're good people. You know that they would never betray you. But I'm seeing some issues here when it comes to where things are headed in the relationship with this person. One person, I feel, wants a lot of alone time. The other person wants a lot of group activity, a lot of interaction. And so that's a little bit more of an easy energy. So I feel like, it's just a matter of trying to work things out. And then I feel like for others, what I'm sensing is you have a relationship from the past trying to come back in, and then the person is just like, here's why the relationship didn't work, and they're giving you some very solid reasons as to what happened in the past and why the relationship didn't work. And I feel like they're owning up to the fact that it was them. It was something that they did. It was something that was internal, where they weren't ready, where they might have had the tendency to sabotage, where they had abandonment issues and they clung on a little bit too tight. Okay. So you're getting some type of confirmation from a ex-partner about, it's like borderline apology, but I don't even feel it was an apology. I feel like they're just telling you, it was me and this is why it didn't work out. And you're just like, that's great, but I'm not going to re-engage. So I don't feel you are going to, try to give it a second round. I don't feel that. I feel that you've moved on, okay? And I feel like that's why the communication, when it comes in, you're like, what do I do with this information? You don't act on it. So I feel like you might not even respond, or if you respond, it's going to be very curt, like, thank you, but I've moved on. So either way, I feel that it's good, okay? I'm feeling some of you might be dating somebody younger, like significantly younger. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I feel that when you're dating somebody and there's an age differential, it's really important for the two of you to I don't feel there's problems, okay? So that's not what I'm feeling, but I feel like you might have a younger person that you're dealing with, or I feel like a significant age gap, even like, cultural differences between the two of you, ethnic, cultural, it could be like an interracial type of a relationship. And I feel like you might have a lot of opposition from the social environment or from family. And so the main thing here is that, the more people tell you like not to do something, the more you're going to do it, right? And so you might justify, but I love them. But you really want to look at the fact, do you really love this person, or do you want to just be a little bit rebellious? So that's really important. And I feel like either, cultural differences or age gap or something, and there's some type of disapproval from their family, from your family, from the social environment, and you're justifying this by saying, but we're in love. I don't feel that's the case. I feel like, yes, there's affection. Yes, there's great chemistry here with this Ace of Cups. But, I'm reading in the upright position. So I feel like there are some things that you need to really be honest with yourselves about, okay? And so don't do things out of, rebelliousness. Don't do that. And do things, from the heart. And honestly, you really need to, take the time this month in your love relationships to see like, to see whether or not you are equipped to deal with a specific person. And it doesn't mean, shying away from conflict. It just basically means conserving your energy, fighting smart, and being smart about your relationships overall, okay? The last card that's coming through, we have here the Magician, and the Magician is a really good card to end with because what's right above it is the Tower. So here's what I'm feeling. I feel like some relationships are going to come to an end or have already come to an end, okay? You've already seen the worst in the other person. You've already seen, that end of the line. And I feel like with the Tower, it basically means things are breaking down, okay? So things are coming down. So whatever you have swept under the rug, whatever you try really hard to fix day in and day out, it's going to crumble, and it's inevitable because you already know that it's built on faulty foundation. And so this needs to crumble first, right? Before you can strategize and think about how do we rebuild it from scratch, before you can make up your mind what you want it to look like, what you want the new tower to look like, what you want to start building. So overall, I feel like new beginnings are happening for you guys for this month. You have that it's like that last test of your will, of your resolve, of your strength, and it's coming through via communication from another person. And it could just be like, very offhanded remarks that they make, or even indirect remarks that they make on social media, through emails, through text messages, something just very indirect, okay? And then I feel that that's going to give you that impetus to just finally move away from this, okay? So once again, I feel like you have, singles, you have a lot of offers. I feel like you're going to feel quite good this month. You have a lot of offers, but I do sense they're short bursts, offers, one night stand, short flings rather than relationship. And then I feel like other people on the tail end of relationship. And I feel that it's going to be the final thing for you guys, okay? So I hope the reading has been helpful for you, Sagittarius. I wish you all the best for this month, and I'll be back for the mid-month reading as well. If you'd like to book a private reading with me, please visit my website. The information is in the description box below, where you can book an appointment, where you can see my availability as well, okay? Best of luck to you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.